Lip fillers, when do they look great and when do they go too far?
Fitting lip looks good. Inflated, tube-like lips, donuts, can never be pretty.
What is the biggest misunderstanding about cosmetic medicine?
Running clubs is one of them.
Are people chasing confidence or are they just chasing trends, doctor?
Both.
How do you reset unrealistic expectations?
Blunt, frank discussion.
I'm doing this for the first time. What's the first questions I need to ask?
Can you tell me what the doctor's medical practice number is? You can type it in to the HPCSA register and the doctor's information will come up.
Where should ethical lines sit in aesthetics?
It's the most important part.
Someone chasing perfection. How do you spot that?
Anything you see from arm's distance, I'll work on for you. If you have to get this close to the mirror to see it, it's probably not even a real problem.
How old are you, doctor? May I ask that question?
42.
We are the same age. We're back, and today we're doing something totally different on South Africa's #1 health and wellness show. We thought, actually not only for the ladies, for the men too, I might get some tips on how to look better. We've got South Africa's top aesthetic doctor, Dr. Reza in the house. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Endure Edge.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm excited to pick your brain about all these crazy things going on in this world and the longevity discussion, because that's what everyone wants to know about, how to live longer and what do we need to do, what do we need to inject, what do we need to wash our face with, our skin with, our hair, how do we keep it all going? If you can maybe start off, how did you get involved in this, doctor?
I studied medicine because I wanted to do something difficult. I thought after school, I wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do. And I registered for a few different things and I just ended up going into medicine. It was something my dad, I think he wanted to be a doctor when he was younger. And so kind of lived vicariously through me in that moment. And I liked studying. Eventually, I figured out that I actually liked studying. In the beginning, you kind of the student, you get there and you hate having to have to study. But eventually I kind of got to grips with it and realized I liked it. When I was in Baragwanath doing internship, I realized that people were dying not because of a lack of doctors or nurses, but because of management. And I thought, well, let me start looking at studying other things. And I started exploring MBAs, and then eventually I did one. But got a little bit disheartened with the whole process and the whole, seeing exactly what was going on in those hospitals. It wasn't unintentional mismanagement. And I kind of thought, well, you know what? I'm going to do my own thing. I started working with my dad in properties, in different types of businesses. And we brought Dr. Ray. I don't know if you remember Dr. Robert Ray from Dr. 90210.
Yes, I do. I grew up with him, yes.
Me too. He brought out a skincare line called Sensual Solutions. And we brought them and we brought him. And one of the creams was called Inhibitox, and it was meant to be a botulinum toxin-like cream, which I don't know why, funny enough, had an effect on muscle where the skin was thinner, but obviously not where the skin was thicker because it couldn't get into the skin. And people kept saying to me, can't you just do the real injections? Just do the real injections. And I thought after the 10th person, I felt like someone was guiding me. And I thought, well, you know what? Fine. Let me do the course. Let me start injecting. And very part-time, just saw people in my office in the chair against the wall. And they kept coming back and bringing their sisters and mothers and brothers. And, it became the full-time job. And that's really how I was led to aesthetics.
Wow. Yes, yeah, I do remember Dr. Ray. And he came to South Africa a few times.
We brought him here.
Yes, and he spent some time on 947 with Jeremy Mansfield.
Well,
it was Darren Simpson, eh?
I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But a couple of people, we had him all over. We wanted him to promote as much as he could while he was here.
Yeah, I remember, and I used to listen to him and go, wow, this oak. And they used to take him to parties and he only drank water. And I remember being at a party in Lonia with him, and this guy was partying hard, but only on water. And I was like, how do you do this, doctor?
Yes, I remember that night even. It was, what was that club called? I forget. But in that shopping center.
The Chef's Emotion, wasn't it? No. Yes, in that shopping center.
Where the Eurosuit is. It's the same shopping center.
Yes, yeah.
So that was long ago.
Did you ever expect this field to become so mainstream when you started out?
No, I thought it was something that there'd always be a little niche of people who wanted to look good and were willing to take the injectables. I always thought of it as the people who would use cosmetics and makeup, and there's people who would have surgery. And then I expected a small margin in between there to need the kind of, the ones who were scared of surgery or didn't want to spend the money on surgery, who then wanted the in-between. But it's really just grown and taken from both of those people who still obviously wear makeup, look after their skin, and it's become this holistic field in covering so many different aspects.
Was there a turning point that shaped your career your career decision?
No, I think once it got going, the ball just kept rolling. And what I liked about it is that it was innovative, it was new, it was unexplored. There were products coming out with a lot of science involved, but the science was still immature in its stage. And we got to apply the art to it. And we even made that our motto, art meets science. And I've taken that into the aviation space with the aeroplanes that we're working on. With everything that we do now, I think, how do I combine the art and the science? Because if you look at it, most of everything has art and science. And let's bring it together. Let's figure out how to do it. But it just kept going from there, step by step. We unpacked it as it went.
So everyone's into, it's the buzzword now. We want to live longer, longevity. Let's stop drinking alcohol so we can feel better. Let's start running. Let's join running clubs, etc. What is the biggest misunderstanding about cosmetic medicine?
Well, running clubs is one of them. One of the things that you need to do to live longer, and one of the biggest predictors of longevity and even cancer survival, is muscle mass. So you should be doing things to build muscle. And I know there are many girls out there who say, oh, I don't want to be bulky, but that's not an easy thing. If it was easy, we'd all be huge, but it takes a lot of work and effort and food to get there. But it's muscle mass. People need to go to gym, build muscle, build density in their bones. And it's a big recipe, a good recipe to make yourself lean and strong going forward. But then when it comes to what we do on the injectable side, it's again that we've got there's two different ways of thinking about it. Some people think it's a magic bullet and you can just live anyhow and, like you say, drink, smoke, sleep late, abuse your body, don't eat properly, don't gym, don't look after yourself, and then come in for an injection and look perfect. Obviously, we can still work with anything, but there's a very big difference in the materials that you're given to work with. So a patient who looks after themselves holistically will always look better, live longer, be healthier, and it shows as a reflection of your appearance.
So if I understood that correctly, your first advice is, even if you come and see me, you still got to look after yourself.
Yes, the responsibility is on each individual patient. And we can see it in our patients in the way that the hair will grow, the skin will respond better, the density, the tissue, the hydration, it all changes based on how they look after themselves. So the basics, if you think of a triangle, the basics is diet, exercise, sleep, and a positive mental attitude. And from there, we can work with everything else. The next step is what you do with yourself every day, how you look after yourself when it comes to washing your face and what you use on your face, these different types of products. But that's a smaller contributor to eventual success of your best looks. What we spoke about just now, lifestyle, and then what we do with the injectables, I would say are the main contributors to how you look.
What's the percentage? Lifestyle to what you do?
Lifestyle 60, what we do 40, and then I guess the little percentage somewhere in between is the surgical, where we would refer someone to go and have surgery instead.
Something that obviously can't be changed because of whatever reason. I lost too much weight or whatever it is.
Well, if the skin is too far gone, we can tighten skin when it's slightly too loose. Yes. We can work on density, but we can't stretch skin back. Or de-stretch skin that is, got 20, 30 centimeters on it.
Yeah.
We can increase breast size. We can't really decrease breast size, but we can tighten skin. But if someone comes in and says, I want 4 cup sizes and I want it now, we have to send you for surgery.
Okay.
If somebody says, they've got no head hair and they need a transplant, we send you for surgery.
Yeah.
And these are the limitations of what we can do with the treatments that we've got.
Are people chasing confidence or are they just chasing trends, doctor?
Both. We can see who comes in and who's asking for fashion, who's asking for something that really matters. So I spoke about our one motto of art meets science. Our other motto, which we actually trademarked, is timeless elegance. It means you look your best forever. Like the house we work in. It's a classic styled mansion. It looked good 20 years ago. It will look good in 100 years. And so that's what we want out of each patient. We don't want them to chase things like Russian lip or fox eye or fashion, because that doesn't fit everybody's face.
On that note, how do you reset unrealistic expectations when a patient walks into your rooms?
Blunt, frank discussion. We can't say, I'm sorry, your feelings will be hurt, because people don't need that.
Feelings are put aside.
Yes. In those 4 walls, we can say, this won't work for you. This will work for you. Your body shape is not right for this. Your skin density needs this work. It's important that we just be blunt and clear with the patients. It's not, would never be mean or nasty or anything like that, but we would be very clear so that people understand exactly what is achievable and what they can and can't do.
Your philosophy on beauty, has it changed over the years as you saw more and more people?
No, funny, mine has been the same. Timeless elegance, tailored beauty, tailored results. Each individual patient is a masterpiece. What is changing, and it makes me very happy, is the average patient perception and their expectation. Whereas before, people were thinking along the lines of give me more lip and more cheek and more. Nowadays, they want their cheeks to be better, their lips to be defined. They don't want to look like they've had work. And that's kind of like now aligning with what we do.
Okay, so on that note, we've all seen them walk around Santon City, Santon City, and they got these big lips, and it just doesn't look great. Can that become an addiction? Lip filler, Botox, whatever it is. Can that actually become an addiction?
Yes. And so there's certain psychological issues. The first one, body dysmorphic disorder, is very real, affects more people than we even realize. But less severe and more common is a lack of understanding of beauty. Now, that if we had to give a pencil to 100 people and tell them to draw something random, let's say a cow, some of those cows would look awesome. Some of them would look majestic. Some would look amazing. Some would take your breath away. Most of them would look terrible. And that's the problem, is if you don't understand beauty and you're judging your face in the mirror, and then you're going to somebody who doesn't either understand beauty or is only there to extract as much money as possible from you, then you will end up looking funny, because you will look in the mirror and think, I don't like what I see. Let me go and get more lip filler. Okay. But that's not the answer. Often it means just something in the cheek or the nose or the eyes. It means something else needs to be balanced. And that's kind of the problem with aesthetics, is it looks glamorous from afar and it seems easy to do from afar. And so we get illegal injectors. We get people who are either banned in their own country or wanted for fraud in their own country. So they escape here, and they may or may not be doctors. We don't know because they're not registered. And then you get actual people who are not and never were doctors in any country, who somehow get their hands on something. Maybe it's fillers, maybe it's toxins, maybe it's water. We don't know what's in those syringes because nobody knows what's in there. They're not registered substances. They're not buying them from the right suppliers. And so they get a hold of this, they inject it in people, they charge them huge amounts of money. And obviously when people are unhappy and try to look for them, they kind of just vanish and disappear and go underground. And you can't find them again, because it's not like with a doctor. If you're unhappy, you can go to the HPCSA and you can say, this doctor made a mistake and is not willing to help me, or whatever the problem is with them. Versus an illegal injector, it goes, well, what is your recourse? Mainly, it's SAPS. It's a fraud charge. It's an assault charge. But it's difficult for you to get any kind of recourse because you don't know what's inside you.
Okay, on that note, I'm doing this for the first time.
Yes.
I come to your rooms. What's the first questions I need to ask? Or I go to any doctor. Obviously, I'm sure men and women out there are looking at price. That's a big thing. But what's the questions to ask to make sure this guy's real, his product is real? I'm sure there's fake product out there too.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing. Take us through that.
The best way to know for sure if this is a real doctor, and you can ask when you make your booking, you can say, can you tell me what the doctor's medical practice number is?
Okay.
And you can get that MP number. You can type it in to the HPCSA register, or you can even get the doctor's name, surname, name, type it into the register on the HPCSA website, and the doctor's information will come up. They'll tell you if they're registered, if they've been struck off, if there's any judgments against them. All of these things can come up on the HPCSA website. Now, all good and well. That's step one. Make sure that they are actually real doctors so that you don't get taken for a ride. Because like I say, all the marketing we do to educate the patient also attracts people from the shadows who think that that's an easy way for them to extract money from an unsuspecting public.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is also educating the public to know when they need to be more careful. The second thing, once you find out that they are real doctors, that doesn't mean that they know what to do when it comes to aesthetics. They don't teach you this in medical school. You have to go and learn it for yourself. You have to do the courses. And you can also ask the doctors what additional training you've had. We put our certificates on the wall so everybody can see what we've done. If anybody says to you, don't ask me, how dare you ask me, they get upset, they block you, they move, they shift, they divert, then they're full of crap.
You can swear.
Because why would you not want to tell people?
Yeah.
I can tell. I'm very proud that I have a diploma in aesthetic medicine.
Yeah, you worked your ass off for
I'm
it.
happy for it, and I'm proud of it. I'll tell everybody about it. So if the doctors are not additionally trained, then they're not going to likely be able to use the products as well as they should be. But then there's a third step is, again, we said art meets science. So all of this covers the science and the legal side of it. The art side is, we'll have a look at what they've done. If you know patients they've seen, if you know,
basically.
Yes, look at the Google reviews, and we'll all have sometimes a strange review here and there. Not everybody likes everybody.
For sure, especially if you're seeing
Normal
a lot of patients.
distribution. We expect some people not to even get along with us. Sometimes you make a joke with a patient and you think you're just being nice and they kind of take it the wrong way.
Not everyone's happy with their BMW they drive.
No, exactly. So have a look at those reviews, look at the social media. But again, be careful. What we've seen, what we found as the doctors at AMSA, the Aesthetic and Anti-Aging Medical Association of South Africa, is that some of the fake doctors are using just face app. So they'll do some injecting and then they'll do some tricks. This is something everyone can do at home, is to take your phone out, open the camera, the selfie camera, looking down, get the shock of your life, take it looking up and look how pretty you look.
Double chin's gone.
Everything's younger. So what they'll do is they take the picture and then they lie them down for the after picture. So they do some work, then they lie them down and then they do face app. And so the patient just looks like, their own daughter or their own son, and marvelous. And it kind of fools people in a way, but there's something that people can do now. Thank goodness for AI. I know face app is the bad side of AI, but there's a good side of AI. I did it myself. I took my phone and I said to Siri, tell me what app has been used on this picture to make it look the way it looks.
Nice.
And Siri says, well, this is face app and you can download it here. And this is why I know it's face app. And so you can actually judge those social media before and afters by asking your phone to even do it for you, which is a nice thing that the patients can start doing. And then they'll realize how many fake pictures are out there.
That is amazing. I think if there's anything to take from that, guys, that's what you can take. For the before and after picture. When it comes to anything, weight loss, I think dietitians that are bullshit, etc. So just on Botox, quick back, doctor. I've heard obviously sisters, not brothers, but sisters, wives, friends. Some of them go to the dentist for Botox.
So
where are you on that?
We call it botulinum toxin. I'm not allowed to use the brand name. So what you said is one of the brand names.
Okay.
But that's fine. You can say it. You're not a doctor. Now, what we say with the dentists is they also can legally administer these injectables. They are trained at medical school in face, neck, that type of thing. But it is more oral.
Yes.
There's no reason to expect them to know how to do any body work. or to understand and have an understanding on the same level as a doctor to do injectable work around the body.
Okay. So it's okay, but it's not okay. It's you.
Yeah, there's legal and there's expertise but again, there are dentists who have gone through the mill, they've done the additional courses, they've done the diplomas, they do have a deeper understanding of the average dentist. But the thing, what we see of people just jumping on the bandwagon of, oh, I'm legally allowed to do this, so I'm going to be doing it, is not the right way. Again, see what the experience is like of the individual dentist. I don't think we can collectively say all dentists are good or bad.
Lip fillers, when do they look great and when do they go too far?
When it fits your face and it sticks within the general proportions and things like the golden ratio. And again, that's where we say an understanding of beauty. If you don't have good taste and you don't understand what beauty and what pretty is, then how can you produce it? And so I love the type of patient who sits in the chair and says, I'd like lip filler. I'm leaving it to you to do what you think will look best for my face. And then I can work and we can work the art and we can make it blend in and we can get them to look their best. So a tailored, defined, fitting lip looks good. Inflated, tube-like lips, donuts, can never be pretty. There is no way in the universe that you will ever find that attractive because you would never find that naturally. You would never have evolved. Your brain has never evolved to like something that looks like an unnatural donut.
Okay, so let me abuse you a bit, yeah.
Please.
I've never done anything on my skin. And you're looking at me, and I'm staring. How old are you, doctor? May I ask that question?
42.
We are the same age, guys. And yeah, we'll zoom in there, zoom in. Yeah, okay. I've got sun damage. I'm an ultra distance runner, endurance runner. A lot of sun damage. I've been on Reaccutane where I didn't stay out the sun. I ran Comrades on Reaccutane, so you can see the sun damage. Okay, I've got a wrinkle. I've never had aesthetic work done. Okay, in my life. Okay, nothing. Where does someone like me start? What do you do?
Do you know? I would start by telling me about your running history before I said running is so bad. Second,
so just before you go that, I agree with 100% everything you said about that and muscle mass, building, all of that. We're on agreement on that.
Fine. Second, I would start with the basics. If I had to look at your face, I would say, let's deal with the muscles that are working against us. A lot of people think gravity is responsible for our face descending over time.
My family's got a double chin problem, doctor. I saw you old,
yeah, it's hereditary. When I had my 30th birthday, I thought, I feel like I'm getting fat. And I looked at my tummy and I'm like, I'm not getting fat. Why do I feel like I'm getting fat? And then I saw the pictures from my birthday and I saw my turkey neck and I was like, hey, that's what it is. I feel like I'm getting fat because, this muscle, I always show patients with my pen. I'll say, the platysma, your neck muscle, it wants to look like this.
Okay.
And it's got 4 main bands, but it's a wraparound muscle. And the problem is it doesn't end here. It ends on the outside of your jawline. So you can blend together your neck into your jaw very effectively if you leave that muscle intact. So what we do is we relax that muscle with a toxin, allowing it to pull back. We do the same thing with the jowls. We do the same thing with the frown, because collectively you can think of those muscles as the tricep of your face.
Okay.
And so that's what's pulling down. If you stop that and you leave the biceps, which is things like your smile muscle, your forehead muscle, then you effectively create an upward imbalance, whereas your whole life you have a downward imbalance. And then we do things to the skin to create elastin, density, help it to lift tighter. Now, this process of lifting at 20 is a 2-week process. At 80, they've even measured it. And even though the muscle still takes 2 weeks to tighten, the skin takes time to follow because of the lack of elastin. And so that can even take 18 months. But the exciting thing is, it didn't take 18 months to not lift. It took 18 months to lift. And so these patients at 80 didn't need then a surgical alternative. They just needed time. And if we combine with other treatments, machines, injectables, we can help with all the tightening. And the side effect will be that we're working on the skin tissue quality at the same time. So one of my new favorite treatments is platelet-rich fibrin, where we use your blood, and I'll do that to you as well for the pigmentation, the skin density, the healing, the inflammation, all of these texture issues we can work with just by using your own blood.
Is that spinning up the plasma
Yes.
and injecting that back?
Spinning and separating and then microneedling it back. But nowadays we can even use that to make a filler. So we convert that into a gel and we can use that to fill the eyes, next to your nose, pretty much everywhere except if I wanted to emulate bonier structures like cheekbones, bridge of the nose and jawline, then I use a much thicker filler.
Okay.
It's one of the ones, I don't want to use the brand names, but there is a thicker filler that we can use for that. The rest of it, we pretty much are mainly using this blood filler because patients are liking the idea of a natural product that will metabolize for sure. You know, there's some
It's your own blood, yeah.
Genetically, some people have an ability to keep the filler forever. It's not common. Again, back to the normal distribution graph.
Okay.
Some people, it's very short. Most people, it's about a year or two, but some people keep on clinging to that filler for much longer. And so people are more coming in asking for natural alternatives. And that's kind of where we got into the treatment for boobs, a non-surgical, injectable way of increasing the boob size. And we're using platelet-rich fibrin fillers to do that.
On the notes about the breasts and the boobs, what should someone truly understand before breast surgery?
Well,
because I know they run straight, and also you probably get dodgy doctors. Well, I've heard about dodgy doctors, yes. You go run straight to some plastic surgeon and say, I want to lift, I want a cup size, 4 cup sizes, whatever it is. What should they understand about breast surgery?
What they must fully investigate, the full cost, the risks, implications, long-term, how does it heal, scarring, because we deal a lot with this post-operative scarring when it comes to things like lifting, things like the side effects that can happen. Also, to understand that it may not feel natural. Depending on where they place the implant, you can sometimes feel where it's placed. And so we like to use our injectable alternative when patients don't like those ideas. Again, if somebody's got a lot to lose, we can't tighten the skin that's sagging down to your navel. We can't increase 5 cup sizes. But I think we have increased patients 1 or 2 cup sizes quite successfully. Patients are happy. We've got a nice, I'm writing up an article right now, and we've been asking and following up with patients. How do you feel? Give us a rating. And most of them will give us 8, 9, or 10, which is quite nice, even if you're 1 year later.
Yeah.
It tells us that we've got nice, good longevity out of that injectable.
And I've heard about implants that expire, and you actually got to get them removed.
I think that the newer ones are not like that.
Okay, is that an older thing?
But yes, it used to last about 10 years, and then it was advisable to change them. But also,
so it's actually a poison, apparently.
Well, no, not so much a poison. I mean, if you think in
terms
of, there were some that were made by a certain manufacturer that was, I think they were implicated in breast cancers. But if you think about saline is basically just liquid. If it bursts, you just absorb that liquid into your body. It's like normal saline, what you'd have in a drip almost. But the other one, you can get a gel, a silicone gel. And those, you can chop them in half and the silicone gel will still stay inside. Yes. It won't pour out into your body. So there have been good advances in the actual implants that go into the patients. But again, it's still a foreign product that you're putting into your body. And again, if we see a need for it, we will refer the patients for plastic surgery consultations. But my philosophy is to always start light and go deeper as you could. I mean, if there was a cream that would work, I would start with that, but there isn't. And so we do the cheaper, less risky, less invasive treatment first. If it seems not to be enough for the patient, then we can send them for surgery. You know, whenever there's a borderline, like do they need surgery or not? We'll start with the lighter stuff first and then go refer if necessary.
I want to stick to a little bit of the male subject because I feel we get neglected with this, and we also want to look good. Okay. Your take on testosterone replacement therapy?
When necessary and when handled appropriately, and when it's used to keep you in a normal range, not as an anabolic. You should never take it to grow muscle. So like we said, muscle is good, but if you had to take a steroid or testosterone to get bulked up, then it's not healthy muscle. you pretty much will deplete your body from head to toe, damage everything from head to toe by using that. And so definitely don't do it at home. Don't do it from the guy at gym. If you are getting it from your personal trainer or from a back room or from a website, then you don't even need to ask us. You know the answer. You know it's the wrong thing to do.
For sure.
But if you're being managed by a doctor who's trained or an endocrinologist or somebody who's got a good understanding of how all of the hormones fit together, then you are probably in good hands. But it's not homework.
So get your blood work done, basically. If you got low testosterone, let a doctor prescribe your dosage.
Don't use it appropriately as it should be.
Who are the doctors to go see for this?
Well, endocrinologists.
I've heard of friends that, sorry, say that again?
Endocrinologists.
Endocrinologists.
Yes.
Am I saying it correctly?
The endocrine system deals with hormones.
Okay.
So the endocrinologist.
So not your GP?
Well, you could start there.
Okay.
And
because I've heard people getting prescribed TOT from a GP. And my first thing is, what does the GP know? I think the guy at the gym knows more than the GP.
No, the GP will still know more than the guy at the gym.
Okay.
Always. Because you do study the endocrine system.
Okay.
You'll work in endocrine. You'll know a lot. But there's a limit.
GPs.
Yes.
I apologize.
So there's a limit. And it's up to then, again, a professional GP will know that this patient needs more care than I am able to give them, that I know how to give them, that I'm trained to give them, and now I need to refer them to either somebody with more training or a specialist endocrinologist.
There's a buzzword going around.
Yes.
It's the biggest buzzword on social media with every celebrity, on every other podcast, Joe Rogan, Rich Roll, Dr. Hiberman. It is peptides.
Yes.
They are trending. What is a peptide? Let's start there.
Do you know, I'll get back to this. So the buzzwords, that's important. A few years ago, it was stem cells. And every cream had a stem cell inside it. Everybody told you about a stem cell enhancing cream and this and that. And I always would say to the people who tried to sell me those creams was, does this work? And they would say, yes, of course. I say, well, then it needs to be registered as a medical substance and we need to be issuing it with a prescription or at a doctor's rooms. You can't be selling it over the shelf unless it doesn't work, in which case you're allowed to sell it over the shelf and you're allowed to just give it to people. And slowly people understood more about stem cells, exosomes, that type of thing. And so the problem we had here was that we couldn't get legal stem cells. And there's two main things. I'll come back to peptides.
Sorry.
On the stem cells, you need somebody who's been trained, and their training needs to be recognized by the HPCSA. So what I've got is an American Board of Regenerative Medicine certificate, making me a diplomat. And we offer that course now to other doctors, and it is HPCSA recognized with 30 CPD points, which means we tick the one box. The other box is, where do those cells come from? They either have to come from the patient, in which case they'll be the age of the patient, or they have to come from a registered stem cell bank. And that will be things like umbilical cord blood, stem cells from that region, or it'll be exosomes, which are derived from those stem cells. And those are now available, so that ticks the other box. So we're very happy to be able to offer this to patients. And most of the time when people are looking for certain cures and treatments, the answer lies there, not in the so-called peptides. Now, peptides, there are peptides that work, and there are peptides that have been studied and proven. And you can go onto PubMed, for example, or Google Scholar, and you can find the studies that have been done, peer-reviewed studies published in medical journals that show you which peptides work. So I'll give you an example. One of the treatments we use is a product called hair fillers, which has peptides inside it. And again, it's a registered substance. It's a registered substance that has been studied and has been cleared and registered with SAPRA and wherever they are in the country. And so we know when we buy that product, it's got the peptides that we want. And we also know that those peptides have been proven to work. So you have to look at two main things. It's easy when you look at it in this way. You step back and you look at those peptides. Number one, are there studies that show that that peptide does what people are claiming that it can do? Because sometimes it's just a fantastical claim. Sometimes people take it to fix, broken arm. It's not
TPC 157, TB 500.
So now stem cells can help you fix a broken arm. and they can help you heal faster. Platelet-rich fibrin locally can help you do that as well. But stem cells have something called homing. So if you have stem cells in your body and you have a good supply of them, if you have a stroke, if you have a heart attack, whatever damage happens, the stem cells kind of migrate their signal to each other, and they're called homing. They go there and they start working.
Okay.
But if you put stem cells into an otherwise healthy adult, it's not that they're wasted. It's just they won't do anything until you stimulate them to do something.
Okay.
So there must be a problem for them to fix. When it comes to the second step now of peptides, one is, do they work? Okay, yes. Maybe we get a yes on some of them. Where are they coming from? Is the product you're buying really that peptide? You know, there was something called lemon bottle a while back, an unregistered substance that all the beauticians got a hold of. Not all, some of them, and were injecting people, telling them they would lose fat. And when those bottles were tested, they found them to contain saline, they found them to contain insulin, and they found them to contain a whole range of things that were not what was promised to be inside that bottle. Now, the same thing happens with the peptides. If you're buying it off a website, if you're buying it from the personal trainer, if you're buying it from anywhere other than a pharmacy or a doctor, you don't know what's inside there. You could be injecting yourself with drain cleaner. Who knows what's in there?
Sorry, that was my
Was that
alarm
your car?
going off. I recognize it. I do apologize.
So that's the general rules when it comes to peptides is it real and where are you getting it from? Because like I say, we have real peptides we've been using for years.
Yeah.
It's just we know where it comes from and what's inside it.
I've heard there's fake stuff on the market
It's just
that,
too
are,
easy.
that are going around. But I've also seen, and I won't mention names, but beauticians, aesthetic doctors, whatever we're going to call them, that are advertising, they can sell you skin glow, which is, what's it? I don't even know, CHBBBC, CSGH-CU mixed with TB500 or mixed with BPC, and they can inject skin glow for you and stuff.
Anyone, a medical doctor who's advertising a non-registered substance and saying that it will cure X, Y, Z is probably committing a crime and needs to be then reported to the HPCSA, and they can handle it from there.
Will
So-
anything happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so
it's
the
not like
HPCSA does-
reporting crime to SAP.
No. And so that's kind of what we've been dealing with what, like we say, the fake injectors, is people want to see something happen. And so what we're trying to do now is to bring and shed more light onto these events and to the punishment, because people need to understand that if I impersonate a doctor in South Africa, there's a chance, or good chance, that people are going to chase me and I'll end up in prison. And so what we're doing, this is the plan with the next few months, is to chase these people down and to get them in jail.
Yeah, and the problem also is, and yes, social media is to blame, but they create such a big hype that I sit back on my morning scrolling or my evening scrolling going, I want to buy Skin Glow. I want to get this pen.
Yes. I mean, and again, what you see is not always what you get. Because what made me start doubting the specific person that we were talking about, and I can't remember who it was somebody that received a lot of negative attention over the last few weeks. It's a doctor from Turkey, or alleged doctor from Turkey, who was practicing here without a license. And, you know, when I inject a patient, I expect there to be needle holes. I expect there to be some bruising. I expect there to be some swelling. I expect the patient to look like they've been through some kind of a trauma, because they have been. You know, you're not just rubbing a cream. Again, you're taking a substance and injecting it into a patient. If you're microneedling, they should look very red. And so when I saw that the after patient just looked perfect, that's what made me go, hey, this seems too good to be true. Let's start asking. Then I asked Siri to investigate. So when it feels like a little too good to be true, it's time to start asking questions.
Okay, so peptides, are they going to be the future? The legal peptides, the ones that will be backed by science, that have been tested, is it the future?
No.
Okay, so not the answer I want. But thank you for being honest.
No, you know, with any medicine, if it is useful, produces results, safe, doesn't kill you, people will start to use it more. They'll be in more studies. They will appear, and it won't be oh, guys, look over there. There's something that can help you. It will be in your face. It'll be in the news. It will be legal. It will be allowed. Everyone, you will never have to source it from anyone other than just going to your doctor. You know, there's sometimes the people who want you to fall for the con will convince you that the doctors are trying to
Hide
keep
it.
the cure from you,
Yes.
which is the biggest load of rubbish. Because if you go to a hospital and you see what these overworked doctors are like, they would love to have a cure for everything. You know, and if you could just get those patients done so you could go home and have a good night's sleep, then you would. No doctors are trying to keep the cure for anything away from the patients.
Yeah, I had the same discussion with a breast cancer doctor on the same podcast. And she was also, we spoke about, what was it? What is that horse tranquil, or that horse thing? What is the, apparently cures breast cancer also, methylene blue.
Yeah, that one. I mean, you know,
yeah.
if it did, why would we not use it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know bee venom apparently does do something.
Bee venom, that's a
But,
new one.
but I mean, it doesn't mean you must now go and get stung by a bunch of bees.
Bees, yeah.
It's not that that's the right way to do it. But you know what it means is that there's possibly a future where somebody is able to take bee venom and produce some kind of medication out of it where they can now target those cancers. So it's not, you know, there's no magic bullet that will just fix everything.
So you've spent a lot of time talking about ethics. Most of your answers were about ethics. Where should ethical lines sit in aesthetics?
It's the most important part. After art, science, well, science first, art second, ethics. Because it's too easy to take advantage of people's insecurities and to just milk every cent you can out of them. And that's why we have laws that say that medical practices have to be owned by medical doctors. And those doctors must act ethically and in the best interest of the patient. So a lot of the times we will upset patients by saying no to things that they ask for. We have referred patients to psychologists because we say, you are being unreasonable. And even though I've explained it, you still don't seem to understand. I'm maybe not the best person to explain this to you. I'm not going to inject you unless you go and see the psychologist first. And of course, how dare you tell me that? I've had patients leave and swear, but it's fine. I know I've done the right thing. I don't need everybody to like me. A lot of those patients will come back after they saw the psychologist and they'll come back and say, you know what, thank you. You made sure that I didn't go down this road where I wouldn't look better, I wouldn't feel better, I could have been hurt, I could have been taken advantage of, but you looked after me. That's a doctor's job. We took an oath. When we stood there in second year, we took that oath and we have to stick by that oath. And that's why it's important that the doctors are the ones who are looking after the patients. And I can admit that not everybody takes that oath as seriously as they should, but you know, at least they've taken that oath.
Yeah, it's a start. Someone chasing perfection. How do you spot that? Because that could also be a problem.
I have a rule. You are allowed to touch the mirror with your arm, and anything you see from there that makes you unhappy is now life distance. Look at where we're sitting. Anybody who comes closer than that is in your personal space. Now, if you're in a public space and people come closer than this, you'll start to push them back. But the joke, which is not a joke, it's actually true. By the time someone gets this close to you, they already know what they want from you. And so you don't need to worry what you look like from here. So I discourage, I say to the patients, anything you see from arm's distance, I'll work on for you. If you have to get this close to the mirror to see it, it's probably not even a real problem. Because then you'll start chasing perfection at that level. When you step back, now you look like a funny inflated soccer ball. And so that's kind of the easy way to get people not to try to get to too much of a perfect face or body.
Can improving appearance generally improve well-being?
100%, yes. And it's not even just about how you feel about yourself. It's often you feel better because your whole life can be better. Now, there's a book called, sometimes this seems debatable, but there's a book called Survival of the Prettiest by a lady named Nancy Etkoff. And in this book, she takes all of the different studies that have been done around attraction, around aesthetics, around good looks, and what that means for the person in their life. And they showed that if you fall into the category of a of an attractive person, you're likely to earn as much money as, well, you guess. How much more? I mean, random, not a financial amount, but what is it like? If you were attractive, how much more money do you earn?
Yeah, I think you would earn a lot more than an unattractive person.
So there's a number to it. Not a number.
Okay,
There's
percentage.
a specific description. That's why I couldn't ask this question nicely.
Okay.
But basically, it's the same as if you had an additional master's degree.
Oh, wow.
So if you were if you were a doctor with a master's in law, it was like you had another MBA or a second master's or a third master's. And so that's the measurement that has been done. And so it's not also unwarranted. It's not just some kind of favoritism that bosses go, here, you have more money. That's part of it. But part of it is that people who buy from you give you more respect, listen to what you have to say, believe you more, trust you more, and are more willing to take what you're selling. And this is a fact. So if you are selling cars, the good-looking car salesman will sell more cars. And so that is why they'll earn more money. Because if you had to look financially, you'd say, well, this person earns more because they sell more. But the reason is because they look more attractive and people are more willing to accept
what's the
what
reason
they
they
say.
sell more? Yeah.
So it does change your life. And there's certain things that are universal. People might say, well, certain cultures or whatever, different countries have different ideals of beauty. But there's two important other studies in that book. There's two universal things. The one is good skin with a good skin tone, not the color of your skin, but a lack of imperfections in the skin. The other is hair, good, healthy head of hair. The reason that's important is because you've evolved to realize that you can't fake that. You can't fake a healthy full head of hair because it takes years of being healthy and looking after yourself to express it in that way. And so that's why it's some of the two biggest things we work on is hair growth and good skin conditioning. Primarily with platelet-rich fibrin. It's one of the main ways we work on it. So that's universal around the whole world. Nowhere will you ever go where they say we want you to have bad skin. The second thing, which I now forgot, when it comes to
Good. Take your time, doctor. Take your
when
time.
it comes to attraction and exam papers. So there were some university professors. They got given exam papers. So it's not that they were trying to sleep with these students, but there was a picture on each paper. They said it was for identification purposes. The better looking students got higher marks.
No ways.
Then they switched it all around. They switched the pictures around. And so that the papers, it wasn't biased by the papers. The better looking students got higher marks again. And so it's not that the professors were trying to curry favor with these students.
Yeah.
They would never meet these students. They simply had a picture and their brain said to them, be nice to this person. And so it's something that we can hack into for our patients. And as unfair as it seems, we now live in all of history. The only time that we could ever change that is now, because we can use a mix of skincare, of injectables, of machines, of surgery to produce an effect that puts you back into contention with the other people who you otherwise would have just lost out to in the future or in the past.
On that note, let's talk a little bit about AI and the future. How is AI changing aesthetics and medicine behind the scenes at the moment that we don't see?
So there's good ways and bad ways that AI is changing the industry. The one is, like we spoke about, the illegal injectors using it to produce things, face app after results and fooling people. The good way, obviously, is how we and how patients and consumers can detect it by asking the same AI what's going on. When it comes to investigating things like medical cures for certain conditions, treating gray hair, for example, AI can be very useful in exploring different avenues and different products and different molecules, things that could take humans, thousands of years to do. So very useful. What we may see is also when AI, it's already been done, where it can take a face and say, I think that these are the changes that need to be made to this patient for them to look their best. That's very useful for a doctor to take and then apply to their patient. Now, obviously, human tissue doesn't respond exactly the same way as a picture will. So it's not 100%. But what we've been working on is robotic arms and how you can take that information, transmit it into a robotic arm that could do the injecting and possibly do it safer than a human can do it, because you can do things like ultrasound and vessel detection so that you don't get filler-induced blindness and strokes, and replace then almost the doctor's hand. So you'd still be supervised, I would say, by a doctor, but you may not need a physical doctor to inject every single patient. That's where I think AI is going.
So who's responsible? Because we've all seen AI can make mistakes.
Well, the doctor. The
Okay.
doctor would be responsible. It would be your arms, and you would be responsible for what they did.
Okay, so you're not against AI.
No, AI is a tool.
You're excited.
Like computers, like cell phones is a tool. Like gym is a tool. You know, it's nothing to be afraid of.
Where should the line be drawn, though, when it comes to the technology
Well,
and the human experience?
again, there needs to be someone in charge. So I wouldn't say set up a little vending machine in every shopping mall and let the people come in and tap their card and leave with a face full of filler. Who knows what the outcome is? That's kind of where I would draw it. I wouldn't say exclude a responsible practitioner in the whole mix.
With AI evolving as it is, Doctor, what type of training do you think doctors or experience do you think doctors are going to need with it evolving?
Do you know, when I was in med school, we had to work with cadavers, people who were dead,
Yes.
and have been preserved in formalin. And the problem is, when you cut that skin open, it looks a lot like this desk. The nerves, the arteries, the veins, the muscle, they all look so similar. And to an untrained eye, it almost looks like just all the same stuff. Versus a few years ago, I went to the UAE to see a university because I wanted to bring a private medical school model into this country, which the Gauteng government shot down. They said it was elitist. But I didn't understand that, because the doctors would be working in their hospitals. I'd still be open to do that if it ever came up. But what I saw was augmented reality, working with computers. If you had a virtual reality, and now obviously we've got it on our phones and iPads with complete anatomy, you can see the entire human body in all its vibrant colors, looking like it looks in real life in a living patient. And you can learn and you can understand so much more, and you can induce different diseases to that, and you can see the pathology. And it's something that is so useful to teaching doctors that I think we'll be able to make better doctors, as long as they don't rely on ChatGPT to write their assignments for them. Then it's a very useful tool. But
Just take out the hyphens.
people were cheating before ChatGPT.
For sure.
They were putting stuff in their phones. They were putting it in their watches. They were writing.
On their legs.
Remember, people used to write in a small piece of paper and they had to put it in. So you can't blame AI for cheating.
Yeah.
Cheating comes from cheaters.
Yeah. You're making the decision at the end of the day.
Exactly.
We're running out of time here, Doctor, and I've got one or two more questions.
Go ahead.
What questions should people ask before any procedure? What do you think is the first question people should ask?
Risks and limitations. How far can this get me? What should I expect? What could possibly go wrong? So I wrote a paper that we published in the Aesthetics Journal, and it was about the risks posed by fillers as far as blindness and strokes are concerned through vascular obstruction. So then giving pointers to the doctors on how to reduce or minimize that risk, such as small needles, small injections, careful placement, that type of thing. And then also how to deal with it if you do run into the problem. What drugs to administer, how to get them to the doctors for a cath lab to get it in, and things like hyaluronidase, how we work with those problems. But it's not, that's the thing that not everybody understands. And again, this is why if you let a beautician inject filler, you're not just getting a good deal, you are probably risking your life. They don't know where to put that injection. You could kill someone very easily if you put the filler in the wrong place. But it's a very, very, very rare event when it comes to a medical doctor doing that type of thing and having a lasting consequence. It's extremely rare, almost that you would probably never encounter it in your life if you went to a medical doctor. But it's the same way I would never let my beautician fly my plane and take me to Durban in the 727 or 737.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with the pilot, and I know that he's qualified. I know that I'll get there. The chances of something going wrong are teeny tiny. But if I let a non-pilot fly us there, we know what's going to happen.
For sure. I like that analogy. Guys, remember that when you're choosing your next injector. There we go. What breakthrough excites you the most over the next decade?
Well, right now, I think we touched on stem cells. And what I'd like to start doing, we'll be exploring more with the stem cell labs of how we can direct those cells into specific tissue types, and then how we can accumulate them and create different organ or organelles or actual organs, and then have off-the-shelf organs to supply to people. So what you'll do is people won't be dying because they couldn't get a liver transplant or a heart transplant. And because you're making them from stem cells are agnostic, which means that we all share the same stem cells, basically. There's no typing when it comes to that. So it's not a rejection of a foreign object. But obviously this is to come, in time to come. The Department of Science and Technology has been forward-thinking and kind enough to give us a tax rebate, 150% tax rebate on any research for stem cells. So
it's amazing.
Very excited to take that process forward. And of course, then you kill the human trafficking for organs industry. So it's a nice thing to do. And the other thing is with what we've been doing with platelet-rich fibrin, how we've been using it to fill faces, fill boobs. We want to start using it more in the body for things like cellulite, for other types of skin conditioning work. And that's kind of my excitement. And I guess the one other thing I would like to see more is a treatment for gray hair, because I'm starting to get some. And so I thought, what can I do about this? And we've actually found a nice formula that's been studied to produce this treatment for gray hair. And so I'll be working on that. So that's kind of where my excitement is right now.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, let me know when you're ready for that gray hair thing. I might need it.
We'll let you know for sure.
What does healthy self-improvement look like to you, doctor? Last question.
It looks holistic. It looks like somebody who makes sure that they're tracking their sleep with their little watch and making sure they get enough hours of sleep, that they are focusing on self-policing their thoughts so that they're not ruminating, that they're not allowing the negative side of human nature to take them down, that they are eating properly, paying attention to what their body tells them. You know, I did a DNA test, which tells me what types of food I should eat, what vegetables I should eat. It tells me things like carbohydrates are more likely to increase my cholesterol instead of fats, which is what we always knew, is that saturated fats raises cholesterol. But in my body, it's carbohydrates. So I can't follow the same rules that everybody else does. I have to change that a little bit. And it means then looking after yourself. And then, of course, we do the injectables, we look after the hair, the rest of the body. And it's just kind of, if you're living in that way, you'll live longer. You will look better when you get to that older age. Nobody wants to live to 120 if you look 120. We want you to be healthy, happy, attractive. And so that's kind of where I would say, be holistic. Make sure you keep your friends. You know, when you leave school and you leave university, you lose touch with your friends. And it's almost a recipe to feed into a road of loneliness and dementia. It's where it goes if you don't keep your friends and keep those positive human interactions on a daily basis.
Something I wanted to ask, which I did forget, and I remembered now, based on you telling me keep my friends. Alcohol and what it does to your body.
So we used to have an understanding or an acceptance that there was a safe amount. And we used to have an acceptance that there was sometimes a useful medical treatment. So as far as reducing cholesterol is concerned, for example, we thought, well, red wine has got resveratrol. And well, now you can get resveratrol in a pill. So it kind of takes away that almost excuse. And new research is showing that there is no safe amount. But if you do drink, I would say keep it responsible. Keep it to, 1 or 2 a day. Don't go overboard. There's definitely no benefit at all to having 10 drinks on a Saturday night and driving your car, or thinking that you're tougher than you are and getting into a fight. So if you are going to use it and have it with your meal, that's normal. It's part of many cultures. you can still enjoy it, but don't fool yourself into thinking that it's somehow good for you.
And someone who has, let me see how to put this, someone who has one glass of wine every single night to someone that then goes on a Saturday and drinks 3 bottles that night. What is worse? Is it the same?
The binge drinker will suffer more.
Okay.
Because the one who has it every day in a limited quantity kind of builds up a tolerance and their body is able to deal
Keeps
with
themselves oiled.
So, but if you do it as a binge, your body doesn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
And again, DNA-wise, for example, I'll give you me as an example. I have a problem. If I had to drink, it would get stuck along the pathway. It would turn into DIM, which is, it's part of the, is it DIM? I might be wrong. It turns into a toxic byproduct.
Okay.
And it stays there for a long time because my liver wouldn't be able to convert it effectively like the average person does. So I have a genetics that hates smoke, which is why I hate public smoking. It's almost like a physical assault, literally, according to my DNA. And I can't drink alcohol because it will get stuck in my liver and make me sick.
I have no doubt, and I know this is the last question, but I have no doubt, I was talking about DNA now and all of that. Where do you go to test that?
Well, we do it. We send it to a lab called
Okay.
Fagron, but we will do it for patients.
Okay, so,
when it comes to
patients
hair,
can come to you. Guys, Dr. Reza's on all the Instagram. He's got a website, and you can reach out to us and we'll connect you.
yes, happy. Dr. Reza _Mia. That's our Instagram name, but you can Google me. If you want to find me, you'll find me.
Yeah, well, and we can help you.
Thank you.
Okay, so they can come to you and do this DNA testing, which gives you, it sounds like a shitload of information.
Yes, and it's true and it's factual, and you know why you have to do certain things.
Okay.
Like the hair. There's 350 active ingredients as far as hair loss is concerned. But, some of those medications may work for you, but they may work not for your cousin. And you always wonder why. And it's because, number one, you identify the causes of the hair loss. Number two, it will identify receptors in your scalp. So, for example, finasteride, it's a tablet. It's meant to grow hair and block testosterone. I have no receptors for the topical minoxidil, but I have receptors for finasteride, which means I can avoid taking a pill. I can rub it on my head and my hair will grow, which is almost as crazy as saying I can rub paracetamol on my head and my headache will go away.
Yeah.
So, but it's because of the DNA that we know. And this lab then produces those products for the patients. And so it's a very easy way of then dealing with treatment and prevention of hair loss.
The information you get from this, is it a full set of info, or do you choose, I want to know about this, or do you get everything?
Well, so for example, hair will be one. This one I told you about with eating will be another one.
Because it's all different tests.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's quite, the food one is 100 pages long.
Wow.
And so you can use it though. Like I give it to my PA and I say to her, buy food based on this. And she knows that she needs to buy, strawberries instead of tomatoes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Good.
Doctor, thank you
Only
so
a
much for your
pleasure.
time. I've got so much more to ask you.
Well, I can always come back.
We'll do this again. I've said to a few other guests, every 3 months, we check in with each other again and we do an
With
episode.
pleasure. This has been really good and I've been happy. I've been able to say everything I wanted to get off my chest. So I'll definitely come back.
Please do. And next time, maybe what I'd like to do is dive into the aesthetic thing with regards to mental health.
Yes, we will.
Because I think that makes a big thing.
It
But
does.
Doctor, thank you very much.
Only a
Guys,
pleasure.
reach
Thank
out
you.
if you to Dr. Reza for anything. Reach out to us. We'll connect you. We're out.